listening to the Startup Scale Up Show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to create meaningful businesses and pursue their passions. My name is Demi Samande, and I am a furniture manufacturer, best known for documenting my move to Lagos, Nigeria, for hopes of business opportunities. And I'm sitting down with entrepreneurs from across the continent to talk about their process, the lessons they have learned, and how to make real impact. Welcome to SUSU.
Welcome everyone to Stanford d.school's Masters of Creativity. Awesome to see you all joining us. We've got Mountain View and Menlo Park and Malta and Mauritius and Montpellier, France. And I couldn't be more delighted to welcome you to today's session. We have an incredible session on the transformative power of play. It is my privilege and pleasure to get to introduce a couple of amazing guests. I'd like to first start with Demi Samande, who's a professional architect and who's the founder and CEO of Mesures. Mesures is a Nigerian-based furniture company and a leader in ethical, sustainable manufacturing. She's also established Mesures Academy, which trains professional and technical skills in world-class furniture manufacturing for young Nigerians. She was recently featured in an episode of the popular Netflix series Made by Design. Please join me in giving Demi some fireworks applause. She's joining us from Nigeria. Thank you for being with us today, Demi. And then it's also my pleasure to welcome Brendan Boyle, one of the most popular teachers at the Stanford D.school. Brendan is a toy inventor. He's an adjunct professor here at the D.school, and he's a partner at IDEO. He's also the instructor of an amazing class called From Ideas to Action, in IDEO's online learning platform, IDEO. Brendan believes that play is the key to innovation, and he's spoken to creative leaders, entrepreneurs, and students about the importance of playful exploration and risk-taking. These two have the distinction of being the first of my many prep calls with Masters of Creativity guests who made me laugh so hard I started crying, okay? So I've done a lot of prep calls with a lot of guests. I've never had to actually stop and say, I'm crying right now. Can we please stop? So we're gonna have an amazing time today. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And what I'd like to do is suggest that we roughly follow this format. We're going to hear a little bit about the importance of play and design for play from Brendan. Brendan's then going to do a quick creative workout with us to get us in the right mindset. He's going to do some questions with Demi, and then they're going to flip the script, and Demi's going to ask him some questions. And then after that, we'll open it up to Q&A from the hundreds of folks who are on the line with us now. So with that, I'll start with the first question and then get out of the way of the fun. Brendan, what do you mean by play? You've got a class called Design for Play. What's it all about?
Wow, first, thank you so much for that wonderful intro. How cool. And I love working with you, Jeremy, and just love seeing your class. It used to follow mine, and the energy that your class had was contagious. So yeah, I teach a class called Design for Play, and play is sort of what I talk about all the time. When I talk about play, I mean, most people think the opposite of play is work. I think it's boredom, or in some cases with kids, if they're play deprived, depression. So a lot of companies think play is frivolous, or it's for kids, or it's break time, like foosball or ping pong. I have no problem with that. Breaks are fantastic. But when we talk about play with companies, often we'll use the word engagement first. Like everyone wants their employees to be engaged. Everyone themselves wants to be engaged. And that means that can be a lot of effort, but it's doing something that you find super interesting. So if I look at my class and they look bored, I don't blame them for being like, oh, these students aren't paying attention. I have to think maybe this lecture isn't engaging. So what am I going to do to make that experience a little more engaging? We did something cool this year. The first day of class, I taped on a hopscotch pad. I think there's another name for it. And I saw the students come in. About half of them did a little hopscotch and their mindset shifted. And then I thought, this is cool. I'll make it an extra credit. So each student teams can redo the entrance, the doorway for a different mindset shift. And we got some wonderful examples. So thinking about play as an experience and engagement is what I really like to do. So thinking about a couple of examples from my class. When I talk about Design for Play, we love getting corporate partners in. We did one with Conagra Foods on how to make the dinner experience for the modern family more meaningful. And one of the big insights is everything starts with insights. Was student, for parents there, hey, what happened at school today? Nothing, because the insight was anything you say can and will be used against you. So students are quiet. So one of the big solutions was a dinner where only the kids could ask questions. Now, how fun is that? And then we had another project that was fun, thinking about design for play with Anheuser-Busch, Budweiser, how to make the designated driver the fun role. And the insights around there were great. Some people want to be the designated driver, but they don't want to raise their hand because they don't want to seem like they're uncool. So some way so you can volunteer in a different way was great. And then all these designated drivers were in a bar, and they could connect through the solution of a designated driver app. And they could kind of control the craziness happening around them like they were directors, which was fun. So that gives you a little context for what I mean about play. I mean engagement. You can also use the word joy or delight. And it can happen in any situation, not just for kids. I mean, I love inventing toys, but we love doing at IDEO design for play projects for all our clients. And it's a horizontal. Think about health and mental health. Think about food and celebration. Think about design for learning and engagement. So play is a horizontal at IDEO, and we love talking about it. So that's my little setup. Now I'm going to do a quick creative workout. All you need for this is your chat. Envision a number 2 pencil. Now, doesn't take hard to do that, but let's ask some questions about this number 2 pencil. And the more interesting questions, the better. Think about what, how, why, where. Obviously, why is it yellow? But what other interesting questions? So start firing up some questions I thought about, like, has anyone ever used a pencil till it's being used up? Or what does it taste like? Or how hard is it to break? So let's see if we can get some interesting. Jeremy, you read a few out that you find interesting. See what we get here.
What does number 2 mean?
Yeah, what happened to number 1? Why is lead poisonous?
Lead poisonous. Why is it long and skinny? Why do pencils use graphite? What wood is it made of? How does the lead get inside the pencil? Who decided the length? Why do we need it for a Scantron? How do you pick the optimal diameter? If we didn't have fingers, how would we design pencils? Can I borrow a pencil? Why is it yellow? Why doesn't it have a better grip? Why do we need an eraser?
All right, I think you guys are crushing it. So the point of this quick creative workout, I love creative workouts when I start the class. Think about, if you're starting a sport or something, you don't just jump in and start a tennis match. You hit a few lobs and you warm up. So a creative workout is usually has to be on the subject that we're talking about. This is all about curiosity. I've been around creative people my entire life, and they're curious. They ask all these different questions before they move to judging. So avoid being judgmental right away. Be curious, and you'll be more creative. So you can use this workout with your teams and see if you can get some new interesting questions. All right, I'm gonna transition. I gotta turn this chat off because it's just too amazing. I'm gonna transition to asking Demi a few questions. So if we could bring her in. Demi, it's so great to see you again. Thank you for being a guest lecturer in my class. The students just loved you and found you fascinating. And please come back to Stanford next fall. That would be great. All right, so I'll start with an easy question. Well, maybe. Did you have any thoughts about the pencil creative workout? What were you thinking about the pencil?
So I know that the very first pencil was invented in the 17th century, right? Wow. I think it was like 1793, 95, thereabouts, by a scientist. I believe it was French. So I think when you sort of popped up the pencil question, it was kind of like, I do wonder though, what was the greatest invention that was ever created with the very first pencil? Like, can you imagine what that sketch would have looked like? And like, it would have been groundbreaking, no?
Great. Fabulous answer. I guess an architect would know the history of a pencil. So for context, Demi, you're in Nigeria, you're in Lagos right now. Give us our viewers a sense of what it's like running a successful company. And then maybe I'll add on a few other questions there. What are the challenges versus North America versus West Africa?
Oh, okay. So I've been running my business for 13 years. I started off in the UK, before now moving it to Lagos, Nigeria. And I guess the UK is it's somewhat very similar to the North of America in the sense that, when it comes to business, things work. Talent is accessible, materials are easily accessible, there's ease of movement, which we take for granted here in Lagos and in Nigeria. So all these things are things that we struggle with day to day. And currently, and we're currently going through it, we're currently facing it in Nigeria today. They're all very serious hurdles for us. It's very crippling in business every day when you say things like, somebody has a successful business somewhere like Nigeria. It's actually a big deal because we know it's not easy. We go through some serious hurdles, and it kind of makes you want to take a sigh of relief when most certainly it's not easy. It's not an easy feeling for most parts of the days, but when you hear, oh, it's successful, it's like, oh, thank God somebody actually recognizes we're doing something wonderful with all the struggles that we go through here. So yeah, Nigeria is strange, it's wonderful. There's a lot of great things happening. So when it comes to play, I think in an environment like this, play is actually very essential because we're carrying so many problems day to day that being able to sort of not take everything serious all the time and actually, put aside some time to play is actually quite essential in terms of enabling us to carry a lot of these stress points.
Yeah, I love that. And just the infrastructure challenges. And our call with Jeremy, you definitely have such a delightful, playful mindset. Has that made you more adaptable to all these challenges? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it definitely gives you a nice balance because again, if you're constantly worrying about all the problems all the time, it takes the joy out of the work, right? So when we remember to play, and we take moments, and we're intentional about taking moments to play and to just let our guard down a little bit, with the worries of the day, it definitely balances it out, and it helps us to be able to have the strength and the bandwidth to handle those issues. Absolutely. So it's an essential part, and I think it's actually so much so it's even part of our culture here, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Sort of moving forward versus looking back. Please touch upon what it's like to be a female CEO in Lagos.
Well, it certainly comes with its own challenges. Being a business owner in Nigeria comes with very little to no support at all. Now, adding the extra layer of being a woman on top of that, in a very male-dominated industry, you find yourself in an even worse position, I would say. It can be challenging, but you learn, and you learned this in your recent visit to Lagos, Brendan, that we are people that we really focus on moving forward as opposed to constantly looking back. So I think despite the challenges, whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, the way to triumph and the way to do well in an environment like this, irrespective of your sex, is simply just don't focus on the problems, just keep moving forward. And I think that for a lot of the women that I know in business in this environment, that's definitely a motto that we have to abide by in order for us to do well.
Yeah, I love that. The analogy I've been telling people is you cut someone off in United States, 9 out of 10 times they're going to yell at you, flip you off, or get angry. You cut someone off in Lagos, they might beat the horn, but they're just going to move. So everyone wants to move forward. They're not thinking about what just happened. They need to get somewhere else. I love that. How about describe a little bit about your leadership style, how you lead others, and maybe a little bit about your company culture?
Okay, so my leadership style is always evolving, and it has done so over the years. But I think the one thing that I would say is definitely been consistent is that I'm very direct and I lead by example. I enjoy delegating tasks and taking the lead in projects, but I also like to stay involved a lot of the time in what's actually going on. And I think my team, a lot of the time, they recognize that, showing that I'm working hand in hand and also side by side with them. I think that for me, that's the most effective leadership style that's definitely worked for me. And I, in a lot of the mentors that I look up to, I believe that's also a style that they'd like to embrace very much so as well.
Yeah, I was fortunate to get to visit your factory, which is super cool. And it seemed like everyone was working hard, but enjoying what they're doing. And there's a very sort of, happy to be there. Folks seem to be happy to do what they're doing. So that was great.
But I hope so. It'll be quite sad if they were not.
I hope the same for my team, right? Like if they're bored, then they're polishing up their LinkedIn. So you got to keep your folks engaged.
Yeah, my team definitely know how to have a laugh at work. Half the time, they're giggling most times. I don't know what they're giggling about. Sometimes I'm privy to the conversations. Other times I'm out of it. But, it's always nice to work in an environment where people can actually let their hair down and have fun and enjoy what they're doing. Nobody wants to be in a stiff environment where they can't even crack a laugh. Can you imagine what that feels like?
Yeah, I can usually walk into a company and tell in 5 minutes, like, is this a place that values their people and it's going to be interesting to work here? Because the space usually is the body language of a company. The marketing is kind of the verbal language.
Okay. Wait 1 second. I just got a timeout here. Brendan, you said you can walk into a space and within 5 minutes, you can know, is this the kind of place that cares for their people, that people enjoy working out? What are you looking for?
I'm looking at, I think space is one of the most underutilized resources companies have. They think about space about being efficient. You want efficiency, be on a Zoom call. Think about space. What is it trying to do? Think about the flow of the space. For our spaces, there's a lot of like bump in spaces. We want, when we're getting back in, we want people to bump into each other, see what's happening. So that's for us. That's not for every culture. So, but thinking about your space in not efficiency, where are people going to sit or how many people can I get here? But what do I want to accomplish first in the space? For us, it's around the we space, not the me space. So, yeah, it's hard to get an office at IDEO. Well, I always had my office in the photo studio and an intern will come kick me out because they're on deadline. All right. So did that get you, Jeremy? That
Totally.
All right.
Anytime a senior partner can be kicked out by an intern, know it's the kind of place at the end. That's great.
Yeah, they're working. Demi, who inspired you to be a leader?
To be honest, I think it's my curiosity, to be honest with you. I think there's a degree of curiosity that I've always recognized growing up, that I just love getting deeply involved in work that I'm passionate about. I embrace it, and I'm very excited by challenges generally. And I think that allows me to apply and grow. And I think that's what led me to leadership. Leadership wasn't something that I just woke up and said, oh yes, I want that. I want to take that. I think it's just my passion and my interest has really led me up to this point. Yes, and I think, it continues to inspire me every day to continue. And just seeing the fruit of my work, my labor, and seeing the impact that my work is doing definitely keeps me more and more interested in continuing to do more as a leader.
Yeah, love it. Your furniture is beautiful. We'll post in the show notes later, a link to your furniture Instagram, but it's beautiful. But how do you stay inspired? What excites you about the creative process? I know that's 2 questions. So let's start with, how do you stay inspired?
I love results. When I see results, when I'm applying myself to something and I'm seeing the results, it definitely inspires me to want to do more. When I see the creative process of when an idea starts off as just an idea, and I literally watch it evolve and be birthed into a real thing, or a real project and a real product, I get very, very excited about that. And it's also the one thing that frustrates me the most, I probably say, in what I do, is the moments where I don't see that, the moment where an idea somehow doesn't evolve to be the real thing. It can be very, very frustrating. So I'll probably say that, my inspiration really comes from just seeing the evolution of my ideas come to life.
Yeah, that's fantastic. At the D.school, we're a bunch of makers. So physical or digital, we want something tangible. So that's exactly, you're a definite maker. So That's why you fit in here at the D.school so well. Tell us about one of your best days at Major's, your company, and maybe flip side, one of the worst.
Well, I'll start with my worst day. Worst day was when my factory flooded. I was away. Yes, I was away, and I got informed that, you know, the space had flooded. You know, all our investment, all our hard work, clients' work, it's just things just submerged in water. That was definitely a terrible day for me, and I think it was even made worse by the fact that I wasn't even available. I wasn't even there. You know, and I really just couldn't do anything. So I had to rely quite heavily on my team, just pulling things together and just trying to salvage as much as possible. But then on the flip side, my best day, especially most recently, is actually also related to the flood. I think a couple of months after the incident happened, I got a call from a little 10-year-old who, she said she had seen, because I recorded this. I basically documented the flood, and I showed it to my viewers on my YouTube platform, because I've been documenting my entire process of this entrepreneurship journey in Nigeria. And you know, as much as I show the good, I also show the challenges and the problems. And I've actually shared this video, and I told people that, listen, this is a real issue. You need to consider this, you know, when it comes to your own business, that this is a possibility that you need to be prepared for. So this 10-year-old who'd been watching my channel reached out and said that she wanted to donate some money to help us towards the flood, which I thought, oh my goodness, how amazing is that? That not only is our work reaching people and people are seeing what we're doing here, but they are so it's gone so far as to inspire somebody as young as 10 years old. And really, ultimately for me, my work is all about inspiring people, both old, young, or anything else in between. It doesn't really matter. But I never, in a lifetime, thought that a 10-year-old would remotely find what I'm doing remotely interested, and would be following the journey. And, you know, I kind of asked her, you know, what does she want to be? And she said she wants to get into business. She wants to do incredible things. She wants to make things. And that completely just melted my heart. And it's one of those days that just made me feel like, wow, all of this is certainly worth it.
That's so cool. I'd keep her in mind for a future employee for sure, or at least a high school intern would be great. Wonderful answers. If you could go back in time, your last story again reminds me how play and adaptability just makes the toughest situation to keep moving forward and just like roll with it. So if you could go back in time 10 years and talk to a 10-year younger Demi, what advice would you give yourself?
I'd probably say that you should probably work a little bit more on your anxiety and try to be more present. I think as business owners, entrepreneurs, sometimes you're so passionate about what you do that you're just always worried. And I know a lot of my closest mentors and family members and friends will probably say that, you know, it's definitely something that I need to work on. And I think that would be my advice to my 10-year-old self. Just know that it's going to be okay. Just keep going and just enjoy every step, because it does fly by very quickly a lot of the time. And I'm constantly having to remind myself to just stay present and enjoy this, because I won't always have these stages and this growth spurts, you know, as I'm experiencing them right now.
Yeah, I love that. And I always tell entrepreneurs, CEOs to document the process. You know, take a lot of photos in the beginning.
Yes,
because you can show
the
future employees, like, here, it was a struggle. And here's fantastic. Where we started. Yeah.
Document everything.
So who are your mentors and how do they inspire you?
So I tend to have mentors in many different areas of my life. And my mentors are pretty much sort of, they're really just people who demonstrate the things that I want to achieve in their everyday essence, in just the way they just embody who they are. And so everyday people, to be honest, creatives, people who face challenges and win. I'm very observant and I seek those people out. And I surround myself with them. And that's really where I draw my mentorship from. It's just people who are just demonstrating success in the areas that I definitely want to explore, whether that's in business or in personal life.
So cool. When I also explain the concept of play, especially to students who are all work mode, I talk about hobbies. And hobbies can have a ton of effort, but a ton of joy. And one of the first week project I do in class is called a personal play project, where you have to go out and get a new hobby, interview someone who's an expert in that hobby, and try it, and see if you can get into the state of flow where it's not too hard where you're going to quit, and not too easy where it's boring. So tell us about some of your hobbies, or if you've tried a new hobby lately or something in that realm.
I'm always trying new things, but my ultimate hobby is I love to travel. I definitely love to meet new people, and I like to learn. I like to learn people. I like to learn their culture. I like to learn their mindset. So I'm just a people person in general. So traveling allows me to immerse myself in new people all the time. So I always love that. And then, there's quality time with my favorite people. I love those moments where I can just, hang out at home with the people that I care most about in the world. Right. Okay. So let's go back to your little interesting pencil question. I think that was rather funny because as an architect, pencils are quite crucial in my training, right? So, but I'm curious as well. What's the strangest pencil question you've actually received? Well, I think it was. I think you were about to tell me, but then we did quite delve into.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
The strangest one you've gotten so far.
I'm hoping you can hear me. I've done this exercise quite a bit, and I've got one super interesting one a student gave me. It was like, is my pencil lonely, or is it happy in a pencil relationship? Which I thought was pretty darn clever. So
that came from a student. Oh, fantastic. So how did you answer the question then? You never answered it?
No, I'm usually that one struck me the best. I can't remember what my answer would have been. I think my original one that I always threw out to class was, what does it taste like? So that gets people thinking different types of questions.
Yeah, I think most people know what pencils taste like. I ate a lot of pencils in my days. Was always curious, so I know that lead taste very much. Yeah. So what do you do when you feel a bit stuck creatively? How do you remedy that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been asked this question, so I think a lot about it. One, the first thing I do when I wake up is I don't look at my device. I want to read for 20 minutes, so I'll do that. And then when I do finally look at my device, I want to look at the calendar, because that's stuff you've set versus the email stuff that's come in. So trying to get to the little more like work on the important, not urgent, versus the stuff coming in is lots of times it's urgent, not important. But when I really get stuck, I want to go out and move. For me, that's a run. I've been a lifelong runner. Now, I always say when I run, I start slow, then I taper off. But I need to move, and then that'll loosen up some ideas. So I think that's good. It's this mind-body connection that we give the brain way too much credit. And I always coach people like, if you don't believe in the mind-body connection, we call it think with your hands. Untie your shoes and see if your mind can tie them back together. And maybe if you sit there for like 20 minutes, someone will come by and tie your shoes. So you can give your brain credit for that. But most of the time you got to use your hands. So I got to move, make stuff too.
Okay. So when I was in your class, which it was a blast, by the way. Thank you so much again for having me. But I remember you saying that, I heard one of your talks, you talked about play, posture, and leadership. Can you explain a little bit more? Because I thought it was super interesting. It would be good for everybody here tonight to sort of get into something from that too.
Yeah, this is a great example of play. So everyone here likes puppies, and if you don't, then something's up. But imagine a puppy or a dog. You come home to your puppy, and the puppy's so excited to see you. Its paws are down, no teeth are exposed, its ears are relaxed, and it's just as focused on you. So if you're a CEO or you're a team leader or you're some kind of leader or on a team, but mainly if you're in a leadership position, people are going to be looking at you. And what is your play posture? Is it sitting back like this? Is it looking at your device constantly? It shows your team you're not interested in them. So imagine you're a CEO and your board shows up, you're going to be really interested in what's happening. So thinking about your play posture all the time. I've talked to my team about this and given them, told them, like, if I'm not, if I'm still looking at my laptop, close it. If I'm looking at my device, call me out on it. So I want to like improve my play posture around folks. And it's really just attention and being in the moment versus being pulled away from something. But I love the play posture of the puppy.
I think when I heard that initially, I was like, wow, I wasn't even aware of that. And I thought to myself, instantly, I need to work on that, because you don't realize just how disruptive it can be. And if you're leading by example, these are little things that we probably should be aware of, right? So thank you for that. I'm definitely learning to be a little bit more intentional about my posture. I'm actually working on my posture right now, actually, sitting down for comfort. So we're in an era right now where many of us are going back into the physical office. Yes, we had a long break. We're now all returning back to work gradually, slowly but gradually. What do you think some of the opportunities and challenges might be with this new transition that we're embarking on?
I think it's going to be a lot of opportunity. Challenges for designers. We're optimistic, so it's going to be opportunity. I ran a workshop outside Atlanta last week for about 75 people. The whole focus was on building a culture of innovation through play, and this is for a medical health company. And you could just tell the shared experience they were having together was so meaningful. They'd miss that. And it was so inefficient. When you think about a Zoom, I could just pop on a Zoom. I didn't have to fly to Atlanta and do all this stuff. So the efficiency of a Zoom is fantastic, but we miss the shared experience. And it's so funny, if you were late 1 minute to a Zoom meeting, everyone's like, what's going on? But if you're in a conference room and people, oh, he's getting coffee or she's coming over. So the shared experience. So we were going to have to design more important shared experiences to get people to come in. And then this hybrid will be a challenge. If some people are remote, some people are here. So we got to design new solutions for that, which I'm excited that IDEOs will start playing around with that. The D.school's been playing around with that for sure, how to make the experience of being on campus more meaningful. Is, it hasn't just been since the pandemic, but there's been so much virtual learning before that. So how do you make the shared experience more meaningful? I think play will unlock that.
Oh, super cool. All right, gamification versus game mechanics. Break it down.
Yeah, so in my team in the IDEO Play Lab, we have two offers. One is toy invention, where we come up with toy ideas and we license them to toy companies. We had a bunch of big hits recently, so we're grateful for that. One is, I'm not going to plug toys right now. The other is design for play, where we go into companies and help change their culture or bring more delight to their solutions. And gamification is, we don't like that word just because it kind of feels like candy on top of something that's not meaningful. So game mechanics would be more like the game mechanics of the ritual of coming into my classroom. Why is that there, and what's it for? It's for a mindset shift. A lot of loyalty programs are gamification. You just figure out how to get as most points as possible, and it's not making you more loyal. I'm not going to pick on any airlines, but we all know which airlines make us feel like they're not loyalty programs. They're more like entitlement programs. So how do you use game mechanics? So think about Mario Brothers. It's the easiest way to talk about game mechanics. You lose, but you didn't have a lot invested. Then you go back and play again, but you like it because it's interesting and fun and you're learning. So that's sort of that state of flow. A lot of really good video games understand state of flow, not too hard, not too easy. So thinking about game mechanics versus gamification, and happy to talk more about that with anyone later. So thanks, great question.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, well, we lost you for a second, but you're back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm back. Okay, fabulous. Now, okay, so my next question is, how does play help to give tangible prototyping faster?
Yeah, at the D.school, we love to prototype as quick as possible. We like to say it's high fidelity thinking, low fidelity prototyping. But how do you get something either physical or digital quickly so you can get more feedback? So an example that comes to mind is we've done a lot of digital toys with Sesame Street. We've done Elmo Calls, which has been in the top 5 for over 10 years. And we were working on one called Elmo Monster Maker, and we're trying to decide, Sesame is great to work with, fantastic. We're trying to decide how's Elmo dance in this one part of the app. So we're going back and forth on a long call, and it's like, finally they were like, look, we got to see it. So we'll send you the assets, program it up, because we were doing all the interaction design, and then let's see it. We're thinking, oh man, that's going to take a long time. So we hung up, and the team started brainstorming, how do we do this in a fun, quick way? So what they did was brilliant. They plotted a giant iPhone, spray mounted to a piece of foam core, cut out the middle, and we had one of our brilliant toy inventors, Adam Skates, dancing behind different ways Elmo was going to dance. And we had Colita, who's one of the founders of IDOU, who's brilliant. She was doing the interaction design with her finger in front of it while we filmed it. And we went back and forth with Sesame. They're in New York, we're in California. We sent 3 or 4 different videos of the way Elmo/Adam was dancing. And by, end of a couple hours, we had the answer before we had to do any software programming. So and it was just fun. The team had a great time. And I've used that video. You can find it online in academia. And it's a really great way to tell students, you can prototype even digitally if you're not a software engineer. You can figure out how to do the interactions. You can use Post-its on top of an iPhone to show what the different screens are going to be. So it's really, how do you get to something physical? A picture's worth 1,000 words. We believe a prototype's worth 1,000 pictures. So I got a little too excited about that one.
We're very excited because I think it's the same concept that we always try to apply it with yours. It's like, how are you going to explain the fantastic piece of furniture to a client? Just make a sample, right? Because a lot of people struggle to kind of just see that vision. But when you make, even if it's not a perfect sample, it's a fantastic starting point, because then you can start playing around with it and improving things immediately off the bat. So, it's prototypes. I'm in love with prototype.
I have an exercise in class, and I've used it other places, where it's like, I say, who's ever designed a hat? And no one's designed a hat. Occasionally someone has. I say, amazing. So I say, we're all going to design hats. They're going to be conversational worthy. And everyone's worried, like, I don't know how to sew. I don't know how to do anything. So I say, no, we got the best prototyping material, aluminum foil. And within 15 minutes, we have these fabulous hat designs with high fidelity thinking, low fidelity prototyping. And it's a wonderful way to get people to think about working with their hands.
Fantastic. So I know that d.school and IDEO focus heavily on how might we as a question. Now, questions, for me are a great way to just get teams interacting and really solving problems. So please explain to me why you think this is so important in teams.
Yeah, in design thinking and human or human-centered design, it first starts with inspiration. So we go out into the field, looking in, looking out, getting all this great inspiration. And then if IDEO or the d.school had a magic potion, it would be synthesizing, looking for themes and patterns, and then framing up these big questions. And we like to call it how might we? How meaning it's possible, might meaning multiple, and we meaning we're going to do this together as a team with the partner, with the client, with the corporate partner. So it's together. And that's where you get this sort of power of multidisciplinary thinking. And I'm convinced I put a IDEO team on a project, they're going to do great work, but it has to be on the right question. So we'll come up with 3 or 4 of these how might we questions and quickly start exploring to see if they feel like it's correct before you're really going a far ways down. So I love that. And I think it's an optimistic way of thinking about the future, which which design thinkers are. They're optimistic. They want a better future. They want to design it.
I have to ask a follow-up to that, Brendan, because I know a lot of people are wondering, how do you know if it's a good question? You said, so just to back up, right? You said, just to clarify the stream of logic, you said, the team's going to do great work on whatever question you give them. So you got to make sure it's the right question. So you start with 3 or 4. How do you know which question is the right one to unleash a team that is going to do good work?
We may start even with more, but we'll work with our client to make sure that's resonating with them. We want to make sure it's really resonating with the insights and go back and check with that. And then we may do some quick explorations around 3 or 4 to feel which one feels fruitful. But you never really know. I mean, you got to get going and then see what happens. But at least you're asking a bunch of questions before you just assume. We had we had a client come in, we were redesigning a major, long distance flight hauling. And they came in, for business class, and they came in with the solution. They said, it's going to be bunk beds. We know it. Don't do all your research. We know it. So, so we quickly prototyped up a foam core fuselage and then prototyped bunk beds just using chairs. And then we had the executives lie in the chairs like they're bunk beds. And right away, you could see it looked and felt creepy. Like your boss is stepping above you and puts her foot down. And so then they're like, maybe we should figure out like some other questions here. So we went back and went through the process. So.
Oh, fantastic.
That's awesome.
So Brendan, I think you're an amazing inventor. I've read your book now. You and your team over the years have come up with some fantastic toy inventions, and then a lot of them have hit the market. What has been your favorite to date?
Yeah, I'm still amazed when we get a product to market, because I had very humble years in the beginning. It's usually what I'm working on right now I'm most excited about, but that I can't talk about that. I am really proud about, there's a product called the Jumperoo with Fisher-Price. If there are parents out there, you might know it. It's freestanding and your child sits in it. It's like when they're about 6 months old, it's perfect because they can't walk yet, but they can sit in this thing and bounce. And that's been fantastic. Some of my master's work at Stanford was based around motion in infants. And then the one I'm really proud of right now is called Pictionary Air. It takes Pictionary, which is a drawing game, which we'd love to get people to draw. But the insight was people don't like to draw, they get nervous. So we took Pictionary Air, and this is a physical digital. So you hold up the Pictionary Air pen, which has got a light on it, and then you have the clue, and your partner's on the device standing 10 feet back, and you're trying to draw it, and he or she's trying to guess it. So it makes it, instead of a heads down, a heads up game, and makes it a kind of a combination of Pictionary Air and charades. And this is done phenomenal. It was the game of the year. And this year they did we did a Harry Potter version, which is fun for you Harry Potter fans. But yeah, I love this combination of the physical and digital and trying to unlock that.
So Brendan, you're incredibly creative, right? Do you believe that one is born creative, or can it be trained? And were you trained?
Well, yeah, I grew up in a big family, so we had to be creative just to like get your share of stuff. But no, we definitely believe that at the D.school, David Kelly, our founder and founder of IDEO, and his brother Tom wrote a book called Creative Confidence. It's just a lot of people lose their creative confidence because, it's sort of drilled out of us in school and things like that. So I usually, again, go back to asking people their hobbies, and I start to explain to them, wow, you're really creative on the way you're doing different things. So one, just more practice around being creative, more projects, just doing more. And one of the easiest tips I tell people is just draw more. You don't have to be a professional illustrator, but you have to be comfortable doing back of the napkin sketches. And people always go, oh, I can't draw. And I say, well, how many drawings have you done today or this week or this month? And it's usually 0 or 1. And then I say, how many emails or Slacks have you done? We're thousands, right? Like most of us. So we're very verbal, but we need to be more visual if you want to be a creative thinker. And this was a trait I've seen creative people always do this my whole career, and Jobs was famous for getting up on the whiteboard and start drawing things. So yes, I think totally believe everyone can be more creative.
Fantastic. What would you say are the biggest barriers to that creativity, particularly in the work environment?
Yeah, it's definitely fear of failure, or a culture that won't allow failure. So when I was 4, I remember going up to my mom's iron and touching it. I said, well, I wonder what that feels like. That was a failure. Now, if I did it again, that would be a mistake. So we're okay with failures. No one's gotten fired at IDEO, or no one's gotten a bad grade in my class for a colossal fail. If they keep doing the same thing over and over again, that's a mistake. So having a culture that it's okay to fail. No one likes to fail. Look, trust me, we all wish we were shooting 100, but a quick failure is learning, and you're going to go on and do something better. So having a culture where Tom Kelly calls it, the boss needs the ability to squint. So if the boss doesn't have the ability to squint and everyone's afraid to show him or her a prototype that's too early and it has to be finished because last time we got chewed out, then you're just have this, everyone's sort of nervous and anxious. But if the leadership says, oh yeah, I want to see more stuff quickly, and they'll have more feedback for you because they got a lot of expertise. So this is a fear of failure. I see it mostly in middle management. The new folks coming in are super excited and they want to like get to work. And then sometimes folks on the end of their career are really trying to like make a difference. So it's how do you get everyone in that sort of mindset? And that can be on the big ideas or just little things, you know, innovation can happen anywhere on that journey.
Fantastic. I think I'm straight out of questions for you, Brendan. You just keep shooting them at me. Thank you so much.
They're fantastic.
I love the there's so many questions in chat. One thing that I would love to ask you, just based on what you just said, Brendan, which is really cool, is you talked about squinting. Can you tell me about a time where you had to squint, and what did squinting do for you? Meaning, what did you see or what did you not see? Because I think I think there's benefits to both, right? Squinting enables you to maybe see something that wouldn't be so clear, but it also kind of obscures the view of ugly stuff.
Yeah, you just have to get better and better at it. When we invent a toy, let's go to that route. We could talk about design for play projects too. We come up with a brainstorm, we come up with a sketch, and then we'll do a sketch storm. And then we decide we're going to tinker it. And tinker means you got to make something. And you can fake a video, you can do all sorts of stuff to see if you can see what we're going to invest in. Because this is all on Ideal's nickel, right? On the toy invention. We're not getting paid until we license it. So we're trying to make these decisions. We're trying to squint all the time. And we've gotten a little better at it, but sometimes it's hard to do. But if it's like, if the attitude is like, what is this piece of junk? Then people are really not gonna like show you much.
Are there any questions that you want to answer that you saw from the chat? I've got a couple I can point to, but I just want to give you a chance.
I'm happy to have you point unless Demi's got one.
I'm running through. They're moving so quickly from my end. I'm trying to run through, but you can go ahead.
Yeah, Jeremy, we'll rely on you.
That's great. That's great. So I'm just having to scroll up here. 1 second. What's the relation? Oh, I love this. Raphael asked an excellent question. What's the relationship between playfulness and ego?
Well, there are all types of different play. A lot of folks think play is just one thing, but we use role playing for inspiration. We use exploratory play for ideation. We use constructive play for implementation. So, and then there's quiet play. There's storytelling, or there's narrative and imagination play. So, I hope, Jennifer Aaker's written a great book on humor, and ego is something that we all have to like struggle, but you should never punch down on jokes. You should only punch up, and picking on yourself is a good way. But yeah, ego is I think destructive to any culture if it's too strong. Confidence is a different thing. Demi, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I agree. I don't know, what was your experience when you came to Lagos? Did you pick up anything?
No, I picked up folks want to get stuff done. I picked up a lot of like, let's keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And I'm very friendly, very service oriented.
Well, it's funny because I'm just reading a question here from Raphael, who says, is playfulness linked to likability or not necessary? Which is very similar to the question you just answered. And I think it's actually true. I find that people who are more playful tend to scale through teams and people, as long as they kind of keep that nice balance between playfulness and discomfort. You don't want to make people uncomfortable in your playfulness, or sort of make people just feel uncomfortable in general. I think you can strike a nice balance, and I think if you strike the right balance, I think the likability factor is really
Yeah, I think it's good spirited humor. I can walk by any brainstorm, and if I don't hear people laughing, even if it's on a serious health subject, I know they're not interested. They're not taking enough risk. So humor, I think, is connected to creativity quite a bit. So what else you have, Jeremy?
Yeah, let's see. I like Zhao's question. He just asked, Demi, what are some elements of play that happen at your company, Mesure? And how do you ensure that there's a playful attitude or tone to the work that's being done there?
So you know, my team are quite they're quite a vocal bunch. There's a lot of, you know, little what I call a little bit of, you know, teasing that goes on with them. Someone does something, and you know, everybody else picks up on it, and we have a little giggle, or somebody makes a mistake and we have a little laugh about it, without it being you know, something that is you know, I don't know, kind of seen as a problem per se. It's like, you know, when we tend to try to move very forward very, very quickly. What's gone wrong here? We like to discuss it as a team, and then try to find a way to move forward. I'm very, very direct myself in terms of my own sort of approach. But I think for us, it's just we play a lot, and it doesn't necessarily always have to be around work or what we're actually doing at work. It's just someone makes a comment and everyone has a giggle about it. And I don't know if you guys have picked this up in your workspaces, where someone has a very distinctive laugh. We have a couple of people like that in the office, and it just makes everybody else laugh for absolutely no reason. We don't know why this happens, but it's the most contagious thing ever. So yeah, just being able to relax and just laugh and just be playful in general. I think that's just something that we do, and I see the benefits of the culture. It just makes it an easy environment to be in.
I always point to rituals. I was in our San Francisco office once, and I heard a little bell ring, and everyone stood up and started clapping. And I didn't know about this ritual. And I said, well, what just happened? He said, oh, someone just accepted our offer. And so we're all excited about, you know, so that was just delightful in the middle of whatever. Clients are wondering what the heck's going on. So you can point to some fun, make some new rituals.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I've heard about, we had one of our former guests at MOC was Kelly Leonard, who's one of the directors of Second City in Chicago, and the Improv House. And one of the things that he told me, I don't think he may have said it in this session, I can't remember, but he talked about they have they call it a something like a dare to suck meeting. I don't know. It's something to that effect, where once a week you've got, I may be borrowing that phrase from Steven Tyler of Aerosmith now, by the way. So I'm kind of confusing, but the point is the same. There's a dedicated meeting where everybody's got to bring their really bad ideas. And the goal, and Nolan Bushnell has written about this as well. He wrote this, he's the first person to hire Steve Jobs. And he would have at Atari, he would have an offsite at Bandon Dunes every year. And he would have everybody rank all the ideas. And then he would choose the bottom 6. And he would just say, if we had to make one of these exceptional, how would we do it? And he said, like, I think Duck Hunt actually came from that, right? Like just working with the worst ideas.
That concept's dear to my heart. That book I wrote is all around brilliant or ridiculous. Otherwise, it's just a good idea. So, you know, we came up with this idea. I wish someone would do it, because if you get a parking ticket in San Francisco, it's about $150. So we came up with an idea. It was a scratch off parking ticket. So it would be double fine, no fine. We owe you the fine. So at least you have a chance.
That's so good. That's so good. Flip a coin. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Folks, we are so deeply grateful for the opportunity to get to share this session with you all. Again, if you want to give shout out to Demi and Brendan, Demi and Brendan, if you'll put your screens in gallery view, we're going to do something that we do often for our guests. We want to give you what we call, affectionately referred to as fireworks applause in the D.School. So folks, can we give Demi and Brendan some fireworks applause here? Thank you so much for joining us.